So it looks like Marvel's Avengers is up to its old tricks because the geniuses over there decided to create a new event. This is the Red Room Takeover event, and of course the best and only rewards worth caring about in the entire event can only be obtained through using real world money because of course. I mean, are you surprised? I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. But you know what I mean? It's just, it's so par for the course at this point. But before we get into it, I just want to say that the channel has been steadily gaining subscribers, which is really awesome to see. So thanks to everyone who's been watching, clicking all the buttons, doing all that nice stuff, and welcome to the new people that have come along for the ride. The next goal is 100 subscribers, so if you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed, maybe go check out the rest of the channel. If it's something you like, then please consider a subscription. I'd really appreciate it. Also, as I've mentioned in a couple of previous videos, a friend of mine's opening up an online retro game store here in the UK, to which there'll be a link in the description if you want to go check it out. And if you do decide to buy anything there, I have a discount code for you. If you just type in consoles only, all caps or one word, at the checkout, you'll receive 10% off your entire order. And full disclosure, the person who runs the shop is a friend of mine. I receive no money, no free games, no kickback of any description for doing this. I'm just putting the word out. And you know, I've bought some retro stuff from there myself for my collection, never had a single problem, so if it sounds like something you'd be interested in, go check it out. But yeah, back to Marvel's Avengers. Yeah, this is something that's, I don't really know what Square Enix's plan is here, really. I just can't really figure it out, although having said that, I know that they lost a ton of money on Marvel's Avengers, and I think what they're trying to do is put as little effort in as possible in order to get the most amount of money back from this. That is a kind of cynical thing, or a cynical take to have, I suppose, but it's just kind of obvious if you ask me. But basically the story is, there was a new event on the roadmap which was called the Red Room Takeover, and from what I understand, it's a pretty lackluster event, if you can even call it an event. As far as I've looked into this, because I don't play it, because why the hell would I? It seems to be just some sort of reshuffled content from the main game, you know, stuff that's already there, just a very minor change, which is pretty crappy within itself. But this event was touted on the roadmap as bringing some new outfits for the characters, you know, skins. And of course, there was some minor stuff that you could earn as well, like animated nameplates. But when people started playing the event, they found out very quickly that nope, all of the outfits and skins are essentially just paywalled. They are just stuff that has entered the marketplace. There is absolutely no way to earn any of these skins in-game. Which, you know, at this point, with the struggles that this game has had, I really cannot fathom why they would do this. There's only really two options. Either they're just trying to get back as much money as they possibly can for this game because they know that it flopped hard, and they're just, you know, trying, like, you know, shamelessly trying to take as much money from people as possible. It's either that, or the people making these decisions are utter morons. Like, there's no in between there. At least in my opinion. And obviously I should clarify, you're not seeing any footage of this game right now because I don't own that game. I don't know why anyone would, quite frankly. I mean, if you're someone that plays it still, it makes me wonder what's wrong with you. No, I'm only joking. If you play a game and you like a game, then fine, you know, that's you. I mean, I hope you don't put loads of money into this thing, but you know, if you enjoy a game, just play it. I remember when Anthem was out, I played it for a pretty long time despite it being kind of crap. You know, like I actually played all of the endgame stuff as best as I could, and you know, match made with people, and actually got basically all of the legendaries, and I did it for all 4 classes and everything. So you know, there is some enjoyment that can be had from a crappy game, or at least a game that, you know, 95% of the population don't like. Sometimes you can just get a little bit of fun out of it and move on, and that's sort of what I did with Anthem, and I imagine it's what people are sort of clinging to with this. But yeah, there is no footage because I played the beta with a friend, and solo obviously, and it was just crap. I just hated it. I just didn't like anything about it. I didn't like the combat, I didn't like the way the characters looked, I didn't like really anything. The loot was utter garbage. I imagine the story was okay from what I've seen, but if the game's not fun to play, I couldn't give a shit what the story has to say, quite frankly. So yeah, no footage here. But yeah, considering the way the game's gone and the content it's had, or the lack of, I should say, it's one of these situations where I just feel sorry for people that have invested time in it. And again, if you enjoy it, then fine, but the game is on life support, quite frankly. I mean, if you go and look at the Steam numbers for this, it's very, very low. I think we're talking 1,000 to 2,000 players, and that's about it. And on console, yeah, it's probably more people, I would imagine, but you know, it's not good. Like, that's really, really bad. And they continue to make really crappy choices. And that's why earlier on I just said that it has to be them just shamelessly trying to get as much money out of this stuff that they can, and then they're just gonna, you know, drop it like EA dropped Anthem. And frankly, I've always thought that them not diving into the MCU with this was such a bad idea. And I mean, yeah, okay, getting Robert Downey Jr.'s, you know, likeness in the game, or Chris Evans, or any of them to appear in this game or voice the game, I imagine that would have run into, you know, millions and millions. But the only reason they made it one of these kind of looter brawler games was simply because they knew they could try and monetize it. Now, imagine if they had have spent the millions to get the MCU licenses and likenesses and voices and all that stuff, and then produced an actually good game that people wanted to play with fair monetization. I imagine this game would be going now, and they'd be moving into, you know, the Phase 4 stuff, coalescing with the films, which would have been a really cool thing, honestly. And, you know, I'm not even a massive fan of Marvel. I've seen most of the films. I'm trying to think where I stopped watching. I think it was actually after Infinity War. I haven't seen anything after Infinity War, as far as I remember. I've not seen Endgame. I just don't care about it, frankly. I've never been a fan of superhero stuff. I'm not a fan of DC or Marvel. I don't really like Batman. I don't really like Captain America. I don't really like any of them. My superheroes when I was a kid was actually things like Power Rangers and Masked Rider and VR Troopers and that kind of stuff, the more tokusatsu style things. And it still is to this day. I still enjoy Power Rangers and stuff. They're my superheroes. But a lot of people love Marvel, and I just don't know why they didn't push that MCU style thing. Perhaps they just wanted to do their own thing. I don't know. I wasn't there at the meetings, obviously. But, you know, they've just turned it into some sort of, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have used the word soulless, and I think that perfectly sums it up, at least from what I played in the demo and all the footage I've seen of it. It was 100% made to be a money-spinning game, a live service with monetization out the arse. You know, that's literally what they were trying to do with it, and it really shows, because the actual content and the actual game is, again, in my opinion, and it's quite a widely accepted opinion, I think the game is crap. So I don't really know where it goes from here. I suspect it's just going to die, because they're going to keep doing this kind of stuff over and over again, and eventually the people that are still playing it are just going to get fed up and the game's going to die, which, considering the way that it was conceived and made, I think is a fitting end. I think it should just go away at this point. It just completely encapsulates what makes these companies so shitty these days. And I know I'm not the first person to say this. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking whatsoever here. Tons and tons of different people have been calling this out for years. I'm just adding another voice. You know, I'm just screaming into the void, so to speak. But companies will always take the piss, especially now, because now gaming has moved into that section where it's mainstream and really popular. Whenever anything gets really popular and really mainstream, it gets monetized to hell. It gets made for the lowest common denominator. It loses its quality and becomes faceless, soulless, and disposable, essentially, which is, again, I've said this before, what modern life is all about now. Just use, consume, throw away, move on to next thing. That's kind of just how things go, and it's kind of how companies want us to be. You know, the giant corporations. And I'm not one of these what would you call it, doomsday people or conspiracy theorists or anything like that. You know, I'm not demonizing every single company. It's just it's like a byproduct of how being a company works, if that makes any sense. Like, they're not all sitting around at a table at a corporation, you know, twiddling their fingers like Mr. Burns, all saying, right, how can we diddle them out of their money this time? Like, that's not what they do. That's not how it works. It's just, you get so many executives, vice presidents and CEOs and, you know, supervisors of supervisors that supervise something else, and then a million other workers, and this section and that section, and all this different red tape, and, you know, company politics and all this sort of crap. And there's just no way you can have a personal touch or quality when it gets that vast. It's just not possible. Not many companies have pulled it off, to my knowledge. You know, cracks always begin to show. or like Marvel's Avengers, they're visible from the very beginning. And you know, before we go, just take a look at this picture that I'm putting up now. This is the actual content. This is the reward, the skin. And I just have to say, how shite do they look? Like, seriously. I mean, look at the Thor one. He looks like he's kind of wearing, you know, like those kids' pajama outfits that you can get that so they can look like Thor when they're going to bed. You know what I mean? It kind of looks like that. It looks really crappy, really awful, and it's just a color swap. That's another thing. I was looking into this and it is literally just a color swap of an existing outfit. So it's not even worth going for, at least again, in my opinion. And, you know, full disclosure, I don't play the game, so do with that information what you will. But there we have it. That's about the long and short of it. Yet another gaffe by the Marvel's Avengers team. Absolutely, as I said, par for the course at this point. But what do you think about this? I mean, are any of you playing this? Are any of the people that watch me playing this? If you are, let me know down in the comments. Or perhaps maybe you played it and really hated it and sort of sold it straight away, or you've just moved on. Either way, let me know. Again, if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. It really helps smaller channels like mine get seen, and I would also really appreciate it. Check out all the links in the description down below. And with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.